Let's do per page pagination. So right now there's 10 results per page. We want to make this configurable and save it to the user's preferences so that it always is that way for a user. So let's do that. Let's start with the view here. So I'm going to spare you watching me fiddle with Tailwind. How do we get to the dashboard view? There it is. Okay. I will spare you and just paste in exactly what we need. And we're going to need to flex and item center. Okay. And I have an input group. It's borderless. It's paddingless. Okay. Then we have a select for per page and yada, yada. And here we go. Per page, 10, 25, and 50. I hard coded these in because that's totally fine. I think that's probably the best way to do it. Now let's make it happen. Let's wire it up. So, I guess I already added wire model. Wire : model per page. So now we can do all the data stuff in the data side. So let's do that. Go to dashboard and let's do it right up here because I think we're going to extract it. So let's say public per page equals, let's say 25 just for fun. And then way down yonder where we paginate the query, we can pass in per page. Okay, and per page pagination is a cinch now. We can change it. We get 10, we get 25, we get 50. Okay, perfect. So first step, let's extract this to its own trait. So pagination, we have in a trait, the with pagination trait, and this is the Livewire trait. It's provided by Livewire, but we want our own trait now. So let's do with per page pagination. Terrible name, very sorry. And the reason I'm doing this is because class not found. We got to make that class found. Let's take sorting and duplicate it with per page pagination. Okay. And then we'll get rid of the innards here. Go back and import that. Okay, imported. And now we can take per page and put it into per page pagination. Whoops, okay. Okay. And then that's all we're gonna do right now. Yeah, okay, so quick reason. Why did I call it with per page pagination instead of just with pagination? Well, the reason I did that is because if we call it with pagination, we run into lots of weirdness with the other pagination trait, which we're going to use within this trait. So it's kind of like, this is the equivalent of extending a trait. I actually tried this when I recorded this video a minute ago and I just quit because it was me floundering around too much. But I was like, oh, we'll just extend, wait a second, you can't extend traits. And I scratched my head and I was like, oh, you can use traits within traits. But because this with pagination trait has a method initialize with pagination, and we're going to create our own initialize with pagination, having them both the same name conflicts because Livewire doesn't know which one to call. So I called it with per page pagination. I'm so sorry, but it is with pagination, but with per page. But it's a lot of P's and per page pagination. Purples, people eater. Okay. So the other thing I want to do, let's open this into Windows here. The per page, this is now a concern that is leaked out of the trait and into the main class. And sometimes that's okay. I don't want to make you feel like you have to isolate all concerns into these traits. But because I do want it to be reusable, I do kind of want to isolate it. And if you recall from before, when we wanted to isolate sorting, we exposed an apply sorting method and then applied it to the query. And I think we can do the same thing here. I think we can create a method called apply pagination that pulls in a query and returns this. Boom. Whoa, did I do something wrong? Folks, I did something wrong. Okay, paste it. Here we go. Return query paginate this per page. And now to get the rows property, we do this, apply pagination, okay? Great, so now we apply the pagination and now the entirety of per page functionality is isolated to this trait. So we refresh and we kind of decorated the original trait. I really like this. I think it's really good. We have 25, we change it to 10, it works. So we still are working. Let's default this to 10. So per page is basically done functionally, but I know that whenever I use per page functionality on a site, I almost never want it to go away when I refresh. So we could add per page into the query string, we could pretty easily do per page. And now if we refresh, per page is in the query string. If we change it to 25 and we refresh, it is 25. And that's great. Okay. Whoa, boy, I'm getting myself in trouble here, folks. Okay, so backing out of that, we have per page 10. What we want to do is actually save it to the user session. So if you did something like this in Vue.js, I know I've done this, per page type stuff. The thing to do is to store it inside local storage or session storage in the user's browser so that it persists it between requests without just sticking it into the query string. And if we change this, let's make sure that we're not, yeah, okay. So the equivalent in Livewire is just use the server session. You could use local storage to do your own, you could hand roll your own local storage solution, but you already have the user session. So we can actually just apply whatever, we can store changes to per page inside the user session, and then we can fetch it out of the session. So let's do that. We can hook into updated per page, get the value, and do something like session per page is the value, okay? And then when we initialize this trait, we can use that initialization hook. So initialize with per page pagination, okay? And let's go ahead and DD, or actually let's not DD, let's actually test that this works. We set it to 50, okay? We refresh, it's now 10. If we DD, if we session per page, oh sorry, we want to update the session, so whatever. I'm going to use the verbose thing because it's nicer, it's more explicit. And then we'll use session get because why not? Okay, session get per page. So we put, let's we go to 25, okay? So now we should have 25 as per page in the session. Now if we DD session get per page, we have 25. Perfect, okay. So now when we initialize this trait, we can set per page from the session get per page. And we can set a default if nothing exists in the session of 10, or even better, just reference this per page, okay? Now we refresh and there it is, 25. We change it to 50, we refresh and it's 50. So there we go. We have this persisted across the user session, which is exactly what we want. So that's it. Per page pagination isolated into a single trait, doesn't interact with anything here. I'm happy with it. I think we did really good. Okay, so the final frontier here is going to be accepting, importing CSVs as rows. And then honestly, I can't think of anything else that I would want to do with a data table. So I think we're doing pretty well. I will see you in the next video.